Welcome everyone to another episode of Spark Coaching. You're live with Arthur Carlos here and our excellent coaches, Bram LaGrue, the muscles from Brussels. How are you, sir?
Fantastic, thank
Good to be
you.
there. And the lovely Kylie Tempton. How are you, Kylie?
I'm great. I'm so great. Thanks, Arthur.
Fantastic. Special guest today, Alan Short. Alan, welcome to the panel. Thank you for your time today. And Bram, would you be so kind to introduce Alan and the topic for today?
Absolutely, with pleasure. Alan, it's so great to have you here on this live stream here, which is across multiple social media. But look, long story short, I met Alan through some business networking. He's an engineer by trade. But what really fascinated me when he told me a little bit more about himself is that not only is he, good in his profession, but he's actually made himself redundant from a business that he started many years ago. He's got more than 10 staff working for him. And he's basically, as you can tell by the surfboards behind him, enjoying life to the fullest with his family, knowing that business is humming away in the background. And he's now just enjoying coaching people on how to do the same. So I thought, who better than to talk about systems and processes so that you can actually have business work for you while you're enjoying yourself. I thought that was a great thing about financial, in the financial services arena to actually talk about as well. So welcome again, Alan.
Financial freedom.
Financial freedom, that's what it's all about. Financial and time freedom.
Love it.
It's a good point. Look, thanks for the intro, Bram. And Alan, before you kick off, I mean, that's the purpose of really starting a business, is to help you lead the life that you want, but and hopefully at some point give the next wave of talent the opportunity that they need to succeed in their lives. So over to you, Alan. Take us away.
Yeah, definitely. I think the story I always like to start with is really the story of I call this guy Drew in a lot of my social media and in my book. Is a guy that started business at the same time that I did. And we both had early success and we both grew our businesses, but it was all around us. We had small teams around us. Everything went through us. If the customers had a problem, we had to deal with it. If the team had a problem, we had to deal with it. If the systems went down, we had to deal with it. Everything was all about us. That typical hub and spoke that you hear. Now, Drew did what most small business owners did, and he worked harder and longer. He was on the tools during the day, and at nights and weekends, he was doing the quotes and the paperwork and the invoicing and the designing to try to keep ahead of everything that was happening. And I was of the opinion that there's got to be a better way to do things. So I started reaching out back then, and in my fire business, I was reaching out to a lot of different people and came along to a couple of coaches and started working with coaches. And, I'm a big believer in research and gaining knowledge. And one of the coaches put me on to the E-Myth Revisited by Michael Gerber. And a conversation we had about that book triggered my way of thinking about how I could build a business that didn't revolve around myself. Fast forward quite a few years, and I built a business that no longer required me to be in the daily operations. Still required me, but it didn't need to revolve around me. My mate Drew got bigger, then smaller, then bigger, then smaller. We'd often go around there for dinner, and he had to cancel at the last minute because he was still at work on a Saturday evening. And, the end result was he lost contact with his wife and his children, and, ended up where we really don't want business owners to be, which is thinking they're building a business for their family and then find out that, their family have lost contact with them and they get divorced and put off. So that's really where I kind of learned how to build a business that worked without me.
Such a great story, isn't it, guys? I love it. So question for you, Alan, just kicking it off, and then let's see what Arthur and Kylie also come back with for you. But first of all, well done. Question I have for you. You obviously now work yourself as a coach, working with small business owners on helping them to do that. What exactly do you see that small business owners struggle with, and how does how are you actually basically bringing value to them?
Yeah. One of the biggest things when we talk about systems for people is small business owners are jack of all trade and really good at everything they do in their business. And they often give something to somebody and they just kind of, I call it, you abdicate a task to somebody rather than delegate it. So they abdicate a task to somebody that they've just employed, that person lets them down, and then they think that that person's hopeless. And they go back to then just issuing instructions and being the one head for multiple arms, and they get buried in all this work. And it's a training issue and a trust issue that, if you can build systems and train people in how to use them and trust people to then do the best things, they will actually do a better job than you will, because you can only do so many hours in a day. And you might be the best at doing something if you had the time, but if you don't have the time, you're the worst at doing it. And your business gets seized up by you being stuck in the middle, holding everything up.
Bit of a bottleneck, so to speak. What about
Exactly.
Carly? What do you reckon? What do you got as a question for Alan?
Oh my God, there's so many things. There's so many themes that I hear you talk about, Alan, there. I think about, I just ran a workshop on delegation, how to empower employees through effective delegation, wrote a book on it. And one of the things I see so many leaders do is they hold on to everything, because they think they're the best person for the job, or they think no one else can do it as good as them, or they think that, everyone else is not going to do it right. Yet it means that they actually don't get the opportunity to spend time on the things they should be doing, that strategic thinking, that growing, that culture, the people, all those things that are going to take them to where they need to go. So I absolutely love that you pull that point out, because I think that's a really important point that leaders struggle with, and therefore it kind of prevents them from growing. The other thing that I see a lot, and you touch on, is the importance of those systems and processes. Okay, our entire company is built on systems, processes, and videos. Okay, because when we are onboarding, I do not have time for people to be spending side-by-side training for 4 to 6 weeks to bring people up to speed. So there's those systems and processes mean that anyone can pick it up and go, this is what I do, this is how I do it, when I do it, and what I do. So I love that part of it. The part that I think that pulls out for me the most and is the trust, and we know, and I know Bram knows a fair bit about this space as well, is psychological safety. I do a lot of group work, a lot of teamwork with executives, and getting trust is really hard. Gaining trust is really hard, to build that trust, to know people are going to do a right job, that you're allowing them that trust to be able to do it. When you think about those 3 pillars, okay, the systems, processes, psychological safety, or that trust as you call it, and also that delegation, why do you think it stops the people from doing that? Why do you think?
Yeah, I think a lot of it comes, the resistance that people have is they don't have time to build the systems properly and to build the process properly. So they're giving this, for want of a better word, a half-assed sort of effort to somebody that therefore sets them up for failure. And when it sets them up for failure, they get failure, and therefore they get in this loop that's all they get is failure, and therefore they can't trust the system, and therefore they don't believe they can find the right people. It's also the right people for the systems as well. I was reflecting as I was having some thoughts on this, that, Bram does a lot of work with disc profiles, and, really there are people who are much better at applying systems based on the disc profile than others.
Yeah.
As an engineer and a high C and high S personality, I can apply a system every single day. Everything I have, whether it's written down, recorded or not, is a system where, there are other
married,
personalities. Right? Yeah, I'm married to one that's not so
good. I love CSs. They're my favorite people. You can guess what I am.
No, not a CS.
ID.
Well, I'm a bit of a chameleon, but I like to let others do that part.
Yeah, me too. Me
You got to
too.
be the business owner. Sorry, Alan, go on. Yeah.
Yeah, so you've got to make sure that you're also playing to people's strengths, because if you're trying to put a high D or high I and get them to apply detailed systems, you're setting them up to failure as well. So really thinking about the person that you're putting in the right, are you putting them in the right spot to do the right job?
Yeah, love it. Everything I talked about today, it's so true. You know, sometimes, you know, I think as leaders, we set them up for failure. Whereas I often find many leaders fail in the delivery of the delegated work. Okay, not the person actually doing the work. It's you as a leader haven't set them up for success. And it frustrates me because we don't want people to fail. Every time I delegate, I want them to be successful. I want them to feel good, because when people fail, they feel crap about it.
Yeah. And it's having some also people, because you start to feel like you haven't got control because you used to know everything that happened in your business, and then you're giving it out through delegation to other people. One of the things I often hear is people don't know if it's being done properly or what's happening. So having some key performance indicators that give you feedback that you know whether everything's happening is really crucial to give you the ability. My fire business, I get updated every week with a set of KPIs, and even I've just been back from a holiday in Europe, and my general manager would send me a text message every Tuesday with a list of KPIs, and from that I knew exactly where the business was, so I didn't have to stress while I was away. And the right meeting operating rhythm, isn't it? You know, like, so that you can find out that information, so you can have that transparency. Yeah, definitely.
So, Alan, what does a day in your life look like in terms of that business? You said it runs basically on its own. You're still involved, but how much are you involved, and how are you involved these days?
Yeah, a good example of, I guess, how well I've built the business to work without me is we went to Europe for all of September, my wife and I, and when we left, I spent 10 minutes briefing the other owner on how to do some of the banking, because I do the financial control. I took about 10 minutes before I left. While we were away, we bought a company that was in receivership. So there was an hour's worth of back and forward with documentation, putting a valuation and an offer in. And when I came back, that business had been bought. We had integrated their client list into our client list, and I didn't have to do a thing. And I came up, I had my normal Tuesday meeting with my general manager, and that was all I needed to get back up to speed. So the business went for a month and grew without me being involved. Now, now in answer to your question, Bram, I guess I touch base with it almost every day through different methods, and but I have some regular program meetings, mainly on on 1 day a week, where I catch up with my general manager, and we try where we can to save all of the issues that we need to discuss to one meeting, rather than having a lot of phone calls to interrupt both of us during the week. Where we can, we bank them all into that weekly meeting, and then I catch up with my whole management team once a week, and then it's really just financial control and looking at the bigger picture, trying to see what's down the road. I often call it, I stand on the top of the mountain and have a 360-degree view of what's going on in the landscape around us, and can make those strategic changes that nobody else can see.
Yeah, balcony.
Exciting. Great stuff, mate. Well done.
Congratulations.
Yeah, well done, mate. By the way, what industry are you in, Alan?
So I run a fire protection maintenance company.
Okay.
Yep. So 20 people, soon to be 21.
Yeah,
and even the recruitment is happening without me.
Yes. But by the way, is Drew okay?
That's coming from an I perspective, by the way.
So,
Drew has got his life back on track.
I mean that. I was just making some notes. It's just, reflecting, and I kind of created a bit of a flywheel on the go. kind of starting with like the self-awareness bit. It's such an important piece, right? Like what's your personal gap analysis? Now you DI, okay, cool. If you're DI dominant and you can't afford to hire anyone at the moment when you're starting your business, go fill those gaps. So hey, guess what? I'm DI. And so I went and did some short courses at the Adelaide University back in the day, Yellow Six Sigma accreditation, didn't do the black belt, but got an advanced root cause analysis course. So important in business. Like you think the issue's over here, but it's happening over there. So get to understand root cause analysis, creating strategy, implementing strategy, all those short courses around building processes, etc., to fill your void. On the flip side, if you're starting business and you're dominant CS, then ultimately you need lead generation for your business. If you can't do that, you're going to starve yourself, right? So no matter how good your systems are, and how much scale they've got, and how much load they can carry, if you're not pumping it, you spend a lot of money for not a lot of output, right? But you got a great pipe. So self-awareness kind of is at the top of the flywheel for me, and that gap analysis, and then go do something about it. Either fill your own gap or hire someone at the right time. And so that's that tension, right, in growth, right? Mm-hmm. And so the next thing for me came up was, this mindset. When you start entering that cost mindset, you're in a precarious position, because although costs and cost management are important, your business at all times needs to have a degree of growth mindset. And so if you're going to shift into that cost mindset for a period, let's make sure that it's not a period that's too long, and let's not get trapped in that cost mindset perspective, because without having that reboot and getting back into that growth mindset, there will be some longer, probably more macro issues occurring with the business. But you got to make sure that you're not in that cost mindset. And when I talk to people that are in my network, when they start getting into that cost mindset, that's the first thing I'm kind of looking for, to say, you need to get yourself up out of that mindset now. You can't run that mindset for too long a time. You got to get back on that growth mindset. So it's that toggle. But the point I'm trying to make there is, what I found is sometimes, when I needed to ignite something, I actually create costs. Because what that forces me to do is, okay, well, I'll create a cost. So I'm going to put on a person that I may not feel that I'm ready for right now, but I'm going to put them on anyway, because I know if I get it right, I'm going to need them very soon. So now it kind of forces me back on to focus on the top line of the business. Right. So by creating cost in like people, placement, or people are looking for flexibility these days. At the end of the day, in our minds, it may not be a full-time role. It might be a contractor's role. It might be a casual. There's people looking for top-up work. There's a lot more opportunity, I think, in the marketplace today that can give you something a bit more flexible to work with initially. It's a little bit more cost friendly, and then something that person can then grow into with the training and trust that you talked about. So it's like forcing yourself to go back into the top line by investing in people and investing in the architecture. And so you get back into that growth, because you got to do it, because you want to get paid the same. Guess what? You got to force yourself on that lead generation round again. So the next part of the flywheel for me is this training and trust. Recruiting on attitude. Number one, you can always teach skills, is what I heard from you. Root cause analysis, very important skill to have as a business leader. So do the study, do the courses. There's short courses everywhere. They can teach you Lean Six Sigma stuff, and executing strategy, and then investing in people and system development. So the next part of that flywheel. And then for me, at the end of the day, it's like you got to keep elevating yourself up in the organization. Ultimately, the last role of yourself in an organization, in my humble opinion, is lead generation. And then that's the final stage, is separating yourself from that lead generation role with having an everlasting brand with your business, so that everyone, at the moment, everyone talks about Spark, my name comes in their heads. That's what I'm working on now, so that the business can continue long before, I'm gone, and continue on with its legacy strategy. So that's kind of like the flywheel that I created on the back of your feedback, Alan. I think it's really good. I'm going to copyright it and I'll give you
give me a royalty back. It is about creating that tension for change, isn't it? If you don't put attention in, then you're not going to change. I often reflect that a business owner's got to go through a journey. You know, they start being self-employed, and then they become a business owner, and then they move on to being a company director. And that's a mindset shift for each one of those stages. And it's really hard to do those mindset shifts without help and without doing that self-work.
Yeah.
Couldn't agree more.
Love what you're about, Alan. Seriously.
Thanks, bro.
Yeah, and I'm glad that you also brought in that disc stuff, because it's true. Like, there's always strengths to everybody, and when people are drawn to something, when they enjoy something, when they like something, as opposed to something else that they don't, if you then give them work that is in line with what they are already passionate about, good at, and so on and so forth, everybody can play to their strengths in all different sorts of buckets, and all together you got a business there. You know, that is.
And it's understanding that systems also give you freedom. You know, if you're a creative, you know, you're a mural designer, for example, so you might be painting murals in schools, then your ability to onboard a new school and then invoice them at the end, if you've got that automated and systemized, then the actual doing the mural in between is your creative art, and you can have full creativity there, but you systemize the bits that are at either end so that you have time to do what's really needed, and where you can apply that. And that can be done for a web designer, for all sorts of what we consider to be creative business ventures. You systemize the bits that usually bleed time away from doing the creative work, and therefore systems actually free you up to do what you really love doing.
Well, it's perfect. I mean, that's the exact, summary for a financial advisor, and the tensions that they face with their requirements, and as opposed to what they love doing, which is, client facing. Right? Yeah. So true. You've written a book, you said.
I'm a serial short book writer. They are one of the best ways to differentiate yourself in the market. As Brian was saying, he's an author himself. You walk into a networking event, and instead of giving out business cards, you give out books. It changes your way of thinking. In my fire protection business, it's generated over $1 million worth of work from my fire protection business.
Yeah, wow.
And I haven't sold a single copy. And it's not about selling. It's about, giving value so that people get an understanding of who you are. In the same way that what we're doing today is we're all providing a little bit of value to the community, and that is a way of them getting to know each of us better.
Yeah, and just in clarification purposes, all of us on this very call are authors. We all have written something. And I think the point of your book, the last one that you gave me as well, was more around time management and so on, right?
Yeah, and time freedom. So for most business owners, it's a simple way that if you apply the simple methodologies, which is all based around systems, will get you back, 10 hours a week to do life, to look after yourself, to look after your family, and to work less. So if you're working 60, 70, 80 hours a week, this can really wind your life back, and you can get control of your life.
Yeah, love it.
All right.
Any last thoughts?
We're just a time check. We've got a couple minutes left. Any last questions before we thank Alan and sign off for this episode?
Ladies first.
Yeah, I think for me, it's just that reminder to everyone. I loved how you talked about that mindset shift, from self-employed to business owner to,
company director.
Yeah, company director. Even if I think about the financial planning businesses or small business owners that I work with, there's so much still in that mindset of I'm a technician, I'm a practitioner, as opposed to actually I'm a business owner. And it's hard to get your head around that too, because there's so many different, I work with a lot of leaders, and there's so many different core competencies you need to have to be a leader. Same with the business owners. You know, there's so many different competencies you need to have as a business owner. And one of those is your ability to think differently and think like that next level of leadership. So I love that. And I think it's a reminder to everyone out there that we need to be thinking different if we are in a role like that.
Yeah,
definitely.
And potentially reach out and engage someone for it. Sorry, Arthur.
For
the
sure.
best way to do that is to change who you're spending time with. You know, if you're spending time with people who are at that next level, you will learn to also be at that next level.
That, yeah. Or get a coach or a mentor, you know, that can help you shift that as well.
Or spend less time with certain people. Just reflecting, that's whole mind shift. It's for me. I'm on that kind of tail end of that journey as well. And company director, for the word I'd like to use is mentor. I think I'm trying to get myself in a position where I'm just mentoring people in our business, whether it be our employed staff, whether it be our authorized representatives, and having that that presence and that mentoring, I guess, role, guide, whatever you want to call it. I mean, formally, yes, director, but really how I want to be seen in the business and in our network as a mentor to helping people through those stages. So excellent session today, Alan. Thank you so much. Congratulations on your success. Well done. Thank you for sharing your story. I've got a nice little summary for myself, my little flywheel here, so I'll spend some time in finalising and fine-tuning that. But excellent to meet you. Thank you so much. And Bram, any closing comments?
Well, obviously, Alan, I'm going to be sharing your LinkedIn profile so that people can connect with you, and your website link. I'll add it onto the live stream afterwards as well. So if anybody wants to reach out, connect, or find out more about Alan and his respective coaching business, then therefore you will find all of that nicely listed there. But hey, thank you so much for joining us. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you very much for having
me. Thanks, Bram. Thanks, Colin.
Thanks, Arthur, Bram.
Bye.